The first time anyone noticed him, he was on his knees, scrubbing gum off the cold marble floor while a room full of parents in expensive suits walked past without a second glance. His hands were rough, his shirt slightly faded, and his eyes tired, but they stopped for just a moment when a little girl in a bright yellow ribbon ran down the hallway laughing. In that instant, the exhaustion melted into something softer, something fiercely protective. No one knew that the man cleaning the school floors wasn't just a janitor. He was there for her. Always for her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who sacrifice everything for love, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Arman Halim had never imagined his life would turn out this way. There was a time when he wore polished shoes, carried a laptop instead of a mop, and sat in meetings discussing business strategies instead of cleaning schedules. But life had shifted in a single, irreversible moment when his wife passed away unexpectedly, leaving him alone with their 6-year-old daughter, Meher. The grief had been suffocating, but the bills had been louder. Without family support and after losing his job during a company downsizing, Arman had taken the first job he could find, the night shift at Meher's new private school. It was supposed to be temporary. Just something to keep them afloat. But weeks turned into months, and the temporary became his reality. The job paid barely enough, but it came with one priceless advantage: it kept him close to Meher. Every morning, after finishing his shift, Arman would quietly watch from a distance as Meher entered the school gates, her backpack slightly too big for her small frame. She had no idea her father had been there all night, cleaning the very classrooms she would sit in. He made sure her desk was always spotless, her chair steady, her environment safe. It was his silent promise to her, one he never spoke but always kept. Arman chose not to tell her the truth. In her eyes, he was still the strong, capable father who would one day get his big office job back. He couldn't bear to let her see the reality of their struggles, not yet. He wanted her childhood to remain untouched by the weight he carried. The school itself was prestigious, filled with children of influential families. Parents arrived in luxury cars, discussing investments and vacations, while Arman slipped through the back corridors unnoticed. Some teachers acknowledged him with polite nods, but most barely registered his presence. To them, he was just another worker in a uniform. But Meher, she noticed everything. She often talked about her invisible hero at school. The one who fixed broken desks overnight, who made sure the classrooms smelled fresh every morning, who erased all the chalkboards before class began. She would tell Arman about him with admiration, never realizing she was speaking about her own father. Arman would listen quietly, a bittersweet smile forming as pride and sadness intertwined within him. One afternoon, something unexpected happened. The school announced a sudden inspection visit by the organization's CEO, a powerful woman known for her sharp eye and strict standards. Rumors spread quickly among staff, creating a tense atmosphere. Everyone worked twice as hard, ensuring everything appeared perfect. Arman did what he always did: he worked quietly, thoroughly, and without complaint. That day, however, Meher forgot her lunchbox in the classroom. As the corridors emptied, she ran back inside, only to find her father standing near her desk, wiping it down with careful precision. Time seemed to freeze as their eyes met. The truth, hidden for so long, stood exposed in that silent moment. Meher didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply walked toward him, her small hand reaching for his. Arman felt his heart shatter and heal at the same time. Before either of them could say anything, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the hallway. The CEO had arrived earlier than expected and was walking through the classrooms with the principal. She paused when she saw the scene, a janitor standing beside a child, both holding hands, both looking like they carried a story far deeper than the polished floors around them. There was something in Arman's posture, something in the way Meher looked at him, that made her stop. The principal quickly tried to explain, but the CEO raised her hand, silencing him. She observed quietly, her expression unreadable. Armin, overwhelmed and unsure, began to step back, but Meher held onto him tighter. It was in that moment that the truth revealed itself, not through words, but through emotion. Through the quiet dignity of a father who had sacrificed everything, and a daughter who saw him not as less, but as everything. The CEO asked a few simple questions, her voice calm but firm. Armin didn't try to hide anything anymore. He spoke honestly about his situation, his job, and his reason for being there. There was no self-pity in his words, only sincerity. Something shifted in the room. The CEO had spent years evaluating performance, numbers, and appearances. But what she saw in Armin was something no report could measure: integrity, resilience, and unconditional love. In the days that followed, changes began to unfold. Armin was called into the administrative office, expecting reprimand or dismissal. Instead, he was offered a position in the school's operations department. It wasn't charity, it was recognition. His work ethic, attention to detail, and quiet commitment had not gone unnoticed after all. For the first time in months, Armin walked into the school through the front gate, not the back. Meher walked beside him, her hand still holding his, but this time with pride that shone brighter than ever. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There were still challenges, still struggles. But something fundamental had changed, hope had returned. Armin no longer needed to hide. Meher no longer needed to imagine her hero. Because he had been right there all along. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the silent sacrifices people make every day, take a moment to like, share, and leave a comment. Your engagement helps spread these powerful stories further than you can imagine. And before we end, here's a special request. Comment: silent heroes exist, if you believe people like Armin deserve to be seen and appreciated.